Today we're going to start day 2 of volume. So yesterday you guys took a Google form, and on Monday you guys did just kind of the basics of volume. So if you have not started that, please make sure that you start it before trying these problems. So below here, I'm still going to find volume. So let's kind of review our formulas first. We talked about if we have a rectangular prism, I'm using length times width times height. And if it's a triangular prism, that means the bases are triangles, I use volume equals big B, which means the area of the base, times multiply that by the height. Okay, so let's take a look at this first one. So it says find the volume of the camping tent. Hint, you may need to break this up in multiple figures. So when I'm looking at this, I have two figures that we should be able to see or be familiar with. If I look at this and I put it over here off to the blue, I see a triangular prism on top, right? That's this piece. And then I see a rectangular prism right here on the bottom. So I'm actually going to draw that piece on the tent. So I have two figures. So I always like to start with the rectangular prism first because I always think that one's a little bit easier. So to find the rectangular prism, so that's this bottom piece. So I'm going to be looking at this picture over here. I know when I'm doing rectangular prism, I need three numbers, a length, a width, and a height. So if I look at this, I have a 6, an 8, and a 2, right? Here are my three numbers. That's all part of my rectangular prism. So for my work here, I'm going to do 6 times 8 times 2. And if I actually multiply that together, 6 times 8 times 2 gets me 96. So that's not my final answer. I found the volume of one piece of it, that bottom rectangular piece. So now I need to find, okay, I did the bottom, now I want to do the top part. So let's go back up to this figure. On top of this camping tent, I'm going to kind of outline this. I see a triangular prism. So I want to find the volume of this figure. Well, when I have a triangular prism, we're going to use that formula V equals big B times H. So I'm going to underline that. So let's find the area of the base first. So the base here, if I look at this word, is the triangle. So I want to find the area of the triangle. So the area of this triangle, if I'm just looking at the triangle here, to find the area of a triangle, we use base times height divided by 2, right? So if I'm just looking at the triangle part, the base here, well, if this is 6, the base of my triangle is also 6. So I know I have the base to be 6. Now I want to find, for the area of the base, we said we're going to do base times height divided by 2. So I now need to find the height of the triangle, not this height, not the height of the figure, the height of the triangle, because remember, I'm trying to find the area of the base. And the base was a triangle. So we found the base of this triangle, we found was 6. Now I need to find this height. I'm trying to find this piece over here. So I'm going to go back to the original picture because this is going to help me. I'm going to erase all this for now to show you. The base piece of the triangle we just found. So this piece is 6. But now what we need to do is, okay, I gotta now find this height right here, right? This piece. Now if I look at the dimensions they give me the whole piece from top to bottom is 5.5. But just this height of this triangle can't be 5.5 because the whole piece is 5.5. So to find that missing piece, we got to do some subtraction. So let's look at the numbers that I have. If I take a look at this, from here to here is 2. So from here to here, it is also 2, right? So when I'm looking at this, here to here is 2. So what would the rest of this be? What would I have to add to 2 to get me 5.5? Well, I could find that height by just subtracting. 5.5 minus 2 has to leave me with that height of that triangle to be 3.5. So I just found this piece. We got it to be 3.5, right? That works because if this piece we just found was 2, all this was 2, and the whole piece is 5.5, that's why I would need to subtract them. So I can now plug in my height of the triangle, which was 3.5. And now I'm going to divide that by 2 because it's still a triangle, so I do still have to divide it by 2. So 6 times 3.5 is 21, divided by 2 is 10.5. Okay, so that just gives me, all that work just gave me big capital B. Now I need to find the height in the formula, this height, right? So the height of the triangular prism is always this side. It's turned over, right? So I want to find the height of the triangular prism, which if I look at this, is this piece, which is the same as this piece. And if I look back at my original figure, the height is 8. So now I got to find the volume of the triangular prism by, look back, I erased this, look back, it says to find the area, to find the volume of the rectangular prism, I'm going to multiply the area of the base times the height. Well, the base was 10.5, the height was 8, 10.5 times 8 is 84. So I found the volume of the triangular prism. We found the volume of the rectangle. Now I want to add my two numbers. 96 plus 84 gives me a total of 180 feet cubed. Okay, this is a harder problem. There's a lot of numbers and pieces that I have to solve, but with this, it just takes practice. So what I want you to do before you start number two is just like number one, pause the video, try it by yourself, and then you could check your answers with mine as I go. Okay, so hopefully you've tried it and are checking your answers. You want to find the volume of the solid. So again, I want to break this up. I could see there's a triangular prism on top. So this is the top. I see a rectangular piece as my bottom. So I'm going to start with the rectangle. We use the formula length times width times height. So I'm just going to outline the rectangle so you guys can see it. Okay, so it's like imagine the roof being off. I need my three numbers. So this piece actually does not do anything for me. Remember when I'm looking at a rectangular prism, it's always the length times width times height. So I'm going to have 12 times 9 times 7.5. 12 times 9 times 7.5 gives me 810. So that's the volume of the rectangle. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to erase this, and now I want to find the angle or the volume of the triangular prism. So that's like the roof part of this. So off at the top in the blue, I pulled out the triangular prism. So we know when I'm dealing with a triangular prism, I got to find the capital B, which is the area of the base. The base of a triangular prism is the triangle. So let's look at the front piece of this triangle. Whenever I find the area of a triangle, I use the formula base times height divided by 2. So of this triangle, the base is this piece. So I want to find that number. If this is 9, I know my top piece is also 9. So the base of this triangle is 9. Now what I need to find is the height of this triangle. So that's just this piece. Right? Now look at this. I'm going to put this in orange. From here to here is 7.5. So how much more would I have to add to get me that total? Because they're telling me if I look at this blue line, they're telling me that whole entire piece is 9, right? So I'm going to erase this so you can kind of see it better. This whole piece is 9. From here to here is 7.5. So what I'm really trying to figure out, okay, well 7.5 plus what gives me 9? Right? So all I had to do is subtract that. 9 minus 7.5 would give me my missing piece. So 9 minus 7.5 gives me a height of, has to be 1.5. Now, it's still an area of a triangle that I'm trying to find, right? Base times height divided by 2, so I still want to divide that by 2. 9 times 1.5 divided by 2 gives me 6.75. So that piece just gives me the area of the triangle. Now, we said whenever I have a triangular prism, I still have to end up multiplying it by the height. So I had to find the height of this figure. Okay, so in a rectangular prism, we found this is 9. We found this as, I'm going to kind of draw an arrow, 1.5. The height of a rectangular prism is always this piece right here. So if I look off to the side, here's the piece that I'm trying to find. This is going to be my height piece. It's not the 1.5 and it's not 9. If I look at this piece, it is parallel to the piece on the bottom. So if this is 12, I know my height is also 12. So now I want to multiply these. 6.75 times 12 gives me 81. And now I found the volume of the triangle or the roof. I found the volume of the bottom piece, the rectangle. So now I want to add these together. 810 plus 81 gives me a final volume of 891. And then I will label that feet cubed. Okay? All right, we're going to do one more. Number 3. It says find the volume of the figure below. I got the L-shaped. So I want to break these up into 2 rectangular prisms. So I'm going to label this for you. We're going to call this A. And we'll call this piece B. So if you take a look, you can kind of see where they have it already separated for you. So length times width times height for A. So if I look at just A, I'm going to outline it. Here's my rectangular prism. What are the dimensions? I should have 3 numbers. It would be 4 times this side length is 1. This side length is also 1. So I could do that in my head. 4 times 1 times 1 is just 4. Now I want to find the volume for B. So I'm going to erase this blue piece. Okay, so I'm going to find B now. Now B is this. So they give me already some numbers. I see a 1 that I could use. I see another 1. So 1 times 1 times, now be careful here. We talked about this. I'm going to erase this. Now, they're telling me from here to the end is 3 3/4. But for my figure for B, I want, see the dashed line? That's where they're cutting it off. That's where I'm starting my new rectangle. I want to know this piece from here to here. So use your numbers that they give you. If you know this is 1, you also know this has to also be 1. So 1 plus how much more would give me 3 3/4. So what we could do is let's subtract. 3 and 3/4 minus 1 gives me 2 and 3/4. So 1 times 1 times 2 and 3/4 gives me 2 and 3/4. So for B, that gives me a total volume of 2 and 3/4. Now remember, I'm not multiplying these. It's like we already found the volume for A, we found the volume for B, so we're not multiplying them, we're just adding them together. I want to combine them. So 4 plus 2 and 3/4. Add our whole numbers or our big numbers together, that gives me 6 and 3/4 inches cubed. Okay? Alright, I didn't break up number 4 for you, so if you would like me to, I'm going to go ahead and do that, but I am going to have you guys do this one by yourself. You should see 2 figures here. Right? I'm going to label this one A, and this one B. So, go ahead, find your dimensions. Remember, you're going to do length times width times height for both of these. So, you should have 3 numbers when you are doing them. Look at your picture, use the video from yesterday, or I did a video on this in the Google form. I'm going to post the answer key to the rest of this stuff probably tomorrow. So please make sure you're trying and email me if you have any questions.